Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the inaugural episode of the Winnipeg Sports Weekly Podcast. My name is Scott Knight.
I'm Victor Selby.
And we're very pleased to have you guys. This is a very, I think, exciting time. We're really excited to get started.
Yep.
And Vic, why don't you just walk us through very briefly what's Winnipeg Sports Weekly all about? Let the folks know. It's the first episode.
Yeah, for sure. No, so Winnipeg Sports Weekly is for every Winnipeg sports fan. That's really the idea behind it. We're primarily active on Instagram right now, looking to expand into some other platforms and obviously the podcast space right now. But really it is meant to be a one-stop shop where fans can follow every Winnipeg sports team in one place. So that's the collegiate stuff. That's like the Bisons, the Westmen, all the way up to the Jets, Bombers, Sea-Bears, Gold Eyes, everything. We want you to be able to check every morning. See, here are the games that's happening that day. Check later on in the evening. Here's how the games went. Here's the final scores, and just keep up to date with kind of all their teams in one spot. There's just so many teams in Winnipeg, and we just want to make it easier for fans.
Absolutely, yeah. It's tough to follow along with all of them at all times, so yeah. I completely understand. There's a need for that. I'm super excited to get to be a part of it here on a very beautiful set, if I do say so myself. I think we've done a pretty good job of it.
2 weeks of hard work and money we do not have at all.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're excited to get started. I think in terms of the format here going forward, this is going to be a little bit of a shorter episode just because we're getting ourselves started. We do have some nice stuff to talk about with some of the teams here, but
for sure.
But overall, we're looking for that 30 to 45 minute range approximately, right? Just give everybody the lowdown on what's new every single week in Winnipeg sports, and making sure that we're covering all our bases with all the teams, because there's lots going on at all times, and I'm always happy to talk about it.
Absolutely, that's the idea.
Perfect. Well, do you want to just jump right in then?
Yeah, let's do it. Bomber preseason and Bomber season, coming up in less than a week. I think that's kind of the main story. What are you thinking right now?
I'm very excited. I can't lie. It's going to be exciting tonight, especially at Princess Auto, to see those third-string quarterbacks that we've signed here just a few days ago. I'm excited to see them fight for that spot because right now it's looking pretty empty. The return of Strevler obviously means that we have a great backup option.
Amazing,
a seasoned veteran of the NFL now who's really worked on his game. His arm looks a lot better than it did years ago, and obviously Caleros still the best quarterback in the league. He's still the guy. So, I'm very excited going forward for this Bomber team. What are you looking to see tonight?
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in the quarterbacks. I think it's fascinating how kind of all in the Bombers have been, very aggressive with trying to find that third string guy. And I think it's because, Caleros is, he's definitely, he's in his mid 30s now, last year of his deal. Obviously we hope he sticks around a little longer. Chris Strevler is a little older than you think he is. He's around 30-ish by now. They've been very aggressive. Obviously Eric Barrier, who was signed, a few months ago, I think was the clear favorite for that job. And kind of lost it pretty early in rookie camp. He was already fourth in line for most of the quarterback stuff. They're clearly very high on Terry Wilson there. And then this new guy they just brought in as well. He's got a bullet arm, really, really good arm, and he can run too. So it's going to be exciting to see those guys for sure. Other than that, I'm really looking forward to seeing some of the other spots that we have some competition to. Obviously, in the corner spots, we have some holes there. We have some injuries, with the linebackers. Adam Bighill's going to miss the first little bit. The defensive line, Jackson Jeffcoat retiring. Jamarcus Hardrick going to the Rough Riders. There's lots of spots up for grabs here, man. It's going to be exciting.
Absolutely, and I still think that the Bombers have some of the best scouting in the entire CFL.
No question,
So I'm excited to see who gets to fill those spots. There's going to be lots of opportunities for young guys to show out, especially tonight. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of those guys making an impact in the regular season as well, which I'm happy for. I mean, that's the future of the Bombers right there. Obviously, we've been very lucky these last couple of years to have had such a fantastic, incredibly skilled team all around. But yeah, you're starting to see some of the holes, in the defense, in the line in particular. I still think our offense is, pretty far and away the most talented in the league. But going forward, you want to fill those spots, and I think there's going to be a really good opportunity tonight against a rather veteran Calgary Stampeders team. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm expecting for the scoreline. I'm not entirely. I don't think I like our odds against a team that is so seasoned in the CFL, but I'm at least excited to see guys, get their opportunity to shine. I think they're going to make the most of it, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to the season as a whole. Especially next week, it's going to be fantastic.
Oh, it's going to be huge. Yeah. Obviously, there are some spots to be filled here, but we do have a pretty good idea of kind of where we stand and where guys stand as far as taking those spots. Eric Lofton, I think, has been the clear favorite since like day one of camp to kind of take that Jamarcus Hardrick role. He's almost certainly going to be the guy. Tyreek McGee, corner from who we brought in from the NFL after he had some like performance-enhancing drug kind of issues there. But the Bombers have been really impressed with him. They say he's a really high-character guy. That kind of stuff can happen, right? And, he has looked sensational in camp. Got a chance to speak to him a little bit at rookie camp, actually, and just what a personality. I think fans are going to love this guy. He's definitely going to be one of the dudes in that spot. Tyrell Ford probably also going to be starting at corner. He's coming back from the NFL. It's going to be really exciting. I am curious, though, a lot of turnover, more turnover than we've had in a while. Kind of, if you had to predict, the Bombers' record this year, kind of where are you at with that?
I'm thinking probably we're going to see a very similar result. I'm hoping to about last year. Obviously, I'm not entirely sure how we'll do, playoff-wise. You don't want to make those kind of assumptions, before you've seen a regular season game. But I do like our chances. Our offense, I simply think we can outscore a lot of opponents, even if our defense doesn't, find a way to strengthen themselves. I am excited about Jordan Younger. Stepping up as a defensive coordinator now, because I love Richie Hall. But you started to see a little bit of a fall off in terms of our defense over the last couple of years. Might be nice to get a fresh kind of set of ideas for what we're looking for. And Richie Hall is still on the defensive staff, which is great.
Absolutely,
I have tons of respect for him. He's a fantastic guy, fantastic football mind. He's done a lot for the city. Obviously, that defense, especially in our last Grey Cup win, was just unbelievable. So excited to see us strengthen in that regard, and I think that's going to bring the Bombers. I'm hoping for about another 12, 13 win season would be awesome. And more than anything, I just want a home playoff game. That's really it.
Yeah, for sure. That's about where I've penciled them in too. I think 12, 13 wins would be awesome. Obviously, you'd love to see like a 14-4 season. I think that's actually what we were last year, right?
Yeah, and that was one of our best seasons in franchise history. So that's a bit of a goal. That's lofty.
It's tough to repeat that. And obviously, we did lose some guys, but like you said, we have the best scouting department in the league. This is the flagship franchise in the CFL now. Just as far as player acquisition, scout, sign, recruit, that's we're killing it, and it's gonna be super exciting. I'm really excited to see kind of what we do with Chris Streveler, because obviously, I think it was a pretty big surprise when he came back here. Not just because a guy who's played in the NFL, a good amount at the quarterback spot. Which you don't see, guys like that hopping over to the CFL. But not only to see him return, but to return to Winnipeg, that kind of has the established quarterback of the league. It was a really interesting move. It's going to be really curious to see how they use him.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's exciting to bring him back. Knowing he's, as you'd said, about 30 years old, but. But even if Caleros is on his way out the door in the next year or two, which he might be with his contract expiry. I do
Mid-30s.
I do like to think that we could get maybe a couple additional years out of Streveler, and see him in that role of more of a throwing quarterback, because he's developed himself a lot in that regard.
Yeah.
And it's going to be great to have him back, especially now that you can field two quarterbacks at the same time.
That's going to be
fun in the CFL. That's going to be lots of fun to see what we're going to do with that. I know. O'Shea was kind of hesitant to comment on what Streveler's role is going to be alongside Caleros, because I think they'd like to keep that a bit of a trade secret until you see it in the regular season. I'm sure there'll be a lot of use of him though throughout the course of the year.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that no one is more creative with offense and play calling than the Bombers. I think we're going to see him catch passes, definitely do the short yardage stuff. I think he's going to block a lot, almost in like a fullback kind of role. Bombers didn't really have a true fullback last year. I think we're going to see him do a whole lot of everything, and it's going to be one of the most fun things to watch in the league this year.
Absolutely. And I mean, you almost forget Brady Oliveira, the most outstanding player who didn't actually win it, able to catch passes and run better than any other running back in the league by several miles. Very, very excited to see how that three in particular operates together, and still such a stacked lineup of receivers. Lawler coming back on the last year of his contract, Schoen being here as well. The offense itself, I can't imagine is going to have much difficulty producing this year. So let's just hope that the defense tightens up. I really think that's the Bombers' key to success is strengthening themselves with some young guys on the defensive end. And I mean, we got Castillo, so I'm not worried about our kicker position either.
No, that is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. After those couple of years of uncertainty, it's nice to have a guy back who's very consistent, seems to like playing here, and he's a good guy. So I'm very excited.
Absolutely. All right, on to another massive story this week. The Jets hiring of Scott Arniel. What are kind of your first impressions of that?
It's a bit of a mixed bag. I'm very excited to see Arniel. I think he's going to be a great fit. But obviously it is too bad to see Bonus gone. Obviously him retiring was a couple weeks ago now, but it's disappointing to see him go. He put the Jets in a very good position this year, but I do think throughout the playoffs there were some adjustments that probably needed to be made that a slightly younger coach like Arniel's probably going to undertake. And a guy like Bonus probably was not, right? Especially in that Avalanche series. I'm not entirely sure it was going to change the course of the series itself, but you could tell our offense was kind of struggling. They weren't looking very good. They weren't moving the puck well. They couldn't really break into the neutral zone at all throughout the course of that series. And not many changes were made until it was, I'm going to say, too late, essentially. And we already had our back against the ropes. So I'm excited to see what Arniel can do. I think he's got a really strong roster of players. We can definitely make a very good run this year, have another really successful season. And I'm looking forward to seeing how he does with that. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that he impressed me so much in his opening press conference. He just, I was, I don't want to say skeptical because I was happy with the hire, but I maybe wasn't blown away by it, but he did blow me away in that press conference. He seemed so progressive in his coaching methods, just his approach to things like analytics. He talked about how the Jets are going to have a summer summit over the summer to just make sure that, obviously, over the summer, just to kind of make sure everyone's on the same page and just, what are the top teams doing? What patterns can you kind of find in, the teams that are in the conference finals? How do they play, and what can we learn from them? And I think that's exactly what the Jets need to be doing. There's a ton of talent on this roster. It's just kind of a matter of you have to make it work. And I think that Bones was exactly what we needed as far as building a winning culture, sorting out some of the locker room issues, and just making guys buy into to the way we want to play hockey. But I think that in the playoffs we really saw Bones has been in the NHL for almost 5 decades. That's a long time.
Yeah.
And the game evolves a lot, right? And I do think that it was time for a little bit of a more modern approach offensively and with usage of young players and things like that. But Arnie said all the right things, man. I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. It's long off season, of course, but I'm excited for them to get started again. I'm excited to see how they do. I'm excited for the draft coming up as well. See if the Jets can continue to do well in drafting youngsters. Very happy with our front office over the last several years.
No question, yeah.
For their ability to consistently draft solid players, find their role. I'm excited. I know Perfetti's a restricted free agent, but I know you and I are both pretty confident that we're going to see him back in Winnipeg. He seems to be happy with the hire of Arniel, and very excited to see how he continues to progress because he's a fantastic young player who's on a really great contract, and I think that if we can get him as you had said previously for a couple $1 million a year, he's going to be a guy who continues to advance, and he's going to be a fantastic guy for the Jets.
Yeah, it's going to be a bridge contract. Definitely, like for any fans, like don't expect a long-term deal. This is not going to be the 7-year extension that Kyle Connor signed a few years ago, for example, or obviously the one that Scheifele and Hellebuck signed recently. It's not going to be that, but I do think it's going to be probably at least 3, maybe 2 years, and probably a pretty reasonable average annual value. Somewhere in the 3 to 4 million range. I think that's totally reasonable, and still quite a cheap contract, especially if you can take a jump in production, which I think we all kind of expect him to, if he's actually getting the ice time and getting the opportunity in the top 6, which Arneal has already said on Winnipeg Sports Talk that he's going to get a chance in the top 6, and great, that's exactly what we need to hear.
Absolutely, yeah, he's a guy who, if you give him more opportunities, I think his production will just kind of be exponential there. So
for sure. Yeah, well, before we touch on to kind of the other big story of the week right now, which is the Sea Bears opening of their season there, I do want to talk a little bit about the Gold Eyes and Valor. Both teams have some exciting stuff kind of going on. To start with the Gold Eyes, after a really kind of slow start to the season, a lot of turnover, a lot of new signings. And they've just been really humming recently. They're now only one game off of 500, hopefully over by the time everyone's listening to this now. Max Murphy, generally considered the best player in the league, is really starting to fire. The team's just pumping out runs recently. Like I think it's been like 11-9, like just killing it. So that's pretty exciting stuff right now.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been it's really exciting to see that they're doing so well, because it was a rough start to the year overall, but exciting to see them get back into the run of things. They look, I think, a lot more organized. Their bats are definitely a lot more active than they were at the start of the year, obviously they're still figuring things out with kind of the role of a lot of their players. But I'm very excited going forward. It'll be it's gonna be an exciting time. Hopefully we get some nice hot days and can get out and watch the fish play.
Definitely, yeah, it's going to be a good summer. And then also Valor, too, who had pretty much as bad of a start to the season as you realistically could, both with the schedule, just playing your first, 5 or 6 games away from home. That's rough.
Yeah.
And then, losing the first several, pretty considerably.
Yeah.
They've come back, had a big win the other day, and then a draw as well. Multiple guys getting into the team of the week. Yeah, things are starting to look up for Valor a little bit, as they really should, because, while I think there's been a lot of concerns from fans kind of about some of the direction of the team over the last few years, they did bring in some really, really high-quality players this year, some guys who have played in the Portuguese league and some pretty high levels across the world, and it's good to see them kind of starting to put it together a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to continue throughout the rest of the year.
Yep, for sure. And then on to the other big story, the Winnipeg Sea Bears, of course, opened their season last week with a tough loss in Saskatchewan to start, but rebounded 2 nights later, with their home opener with a massive win over the defending champion Scarborough. We were both there. Kind of, what were your first impressions of both the team and the atmosphere and just the whole experience?
Well, the team, off the start, especially in their first game, did look a little bit disorganized. I think you had mentioned that as well.
Yeah.
Definitely not looking perfect. Very early on, a lot of new additions, so you're not entirely expecting them to look like that. And I think their home opener, they still had a very similar start, where you weren't entirely sure kind of if everybody was on the same page, but they were still making it work. It was a close game. The atmosphere you had mentioned is always fantastic for Sea Bears games.
Yeah.
Just astounding. A sellout there in the lower bowl. They're fantastic games to go to, super loud, super exciting, and obviously a fantastic finish in this one. If you haven't seen it already, scroll back a little bit in our page and take a look at the game winner there, because a fantastic effort. Another Teddy Allen 40-point night. He's something special, and I'm very excited to see how this season continues, because I think the Sea Bears are going to be very competitive for the whole year here.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's what I expect as well. Before I really get into the team and the game, just to say the game day experience, it's been top notch since the start, which is a large part of why they've been so successful. But I was really curious, specifically for the opening announcements where they're reading off all the team members, everyone's coming out. I was curious to see how the crowd's going to react to some of the returnees. Like, do they remember the guys? Do they, like, the guys who played big roles? Yeah, probably. Teddy Allen, they're going to remember him. But, maybe a guy like Shane Osiande, who played, maybe a little bit more of a smaller role last year. How does the crowd react to them? Do they remember that he played last year? And they did. It was extremely obvious that the crowd, they knew their guys, and they knew who was a big signing and who wasn't. Like a guy like JOJ who had a great year last year in Russia, has played all over the world, like third leading scorer in one of the best leagues in the world. He's a massive signing. They reacted well. Byron Mullins, NBA starter. The crowd knows, they know who's on this team. It's really looking like it's not just let's go see the show, let's go see the basketball. It's like, let's go see our Sea Bears. It means something, and I think that they're really starting to get established with fans. Yeah,
there's definitely, I think, a very dedicated fan base now, and I mean, Winnipeg's been growing as a basketball city.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially in these last several years, which is awesome to see, especially as a big basketball fan myself.
Yeah, collegiately too.
Absolutely. Yeah,
both U Sports teams are awesome. Like both U Sports men's teams and the women's teams did have a little bit of a challenging year, but still really looking up, young teams there. It's a great time for basketball right now.
Absolutely. It's very, very exciting. Really good showings for both Bisons and Westmen, men's and women's, especially at the Canada West Championship there.
Yeah,
obviously, that was hosted a couple months ago. That was exciting to see. Very good finish, obviously, for the Westmen. Bit of a disappointing end for the Bisons, but, a great season overall for both of them. They got lots of talent. And excited to see basketball continue to grow in the city and in the province. Especially with regards to the Sea Bears, because it's going to be a great year. They look fantastic. The fans are bought in. Everybody's really happy to have them around, I think.
Yep, it's going to be an incredible time this whole summer. Like, not just at the fact that there's so many teams playing, but they all look good for the most part.
Yeah.
Teams are looking good. It's exciting.
It's very exciting. It's a good time to be one of a big sports fan. I'm excited to see how the rest of the year shapes up.
Yeah, and we're gonna have all the coverage for fans, both on our Instagram and through this podcast. We're gonna be talking about Winnipeg sports all summer long, all year long. We are here to stay.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, and I'm excited for it as well. So
for sure, yeah. Since we are kind of coming to a close on our first episode here, I did just want to give a quick shout out to all the followers of Winnipeg Sports Weekly. Whether you've been following from the start or just in the last few hours. You mean so much to us. We really, really appreciate your support. We never really imagined that we could be doing what we're doing right now in this set and doing this show for you guys right now. Thank you so much for your support. And if there's anything you want to see on the podcast, on the account, anything like that, suggestions, complaints, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to say to us, please just shoot us a message or comment. On whatever you're listening to this, we want to hear from you. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, I think it's been definitely growth beyond what we had expected. We were very proud of what we're putting out, but the reaction has been fantastic. People seem to like what we're doing, and we love having them along for the ride. So all of you who are listening or watching this, we appreciate you guys, and everybody who's a Winnipeg sports fan. I think you'll find a place with us.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, thanks for tuning in, guys, for the first episode of the Winnipeg Sports Weekly podcast. We will see you in the next one.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye, guys.